We are recording. Start.
Yes, ma'am. Neat chapter.
Yes, predictions of my previous things did not occur. Damn it.
Not exactly, but we did get that sparring.
Yes, which you know what? We've been waiting since book 1 for the sparring, okay? For the
Yes.
Look, it's not, we didn't get exactly what we wanted. We wanted like Vin, we wanted a bit more commentary on how Vin is supposed to learn, from a Ham. So it would be cool in her POV. But still, we did get the scene. Hello. Yeah.
Yes, that was very nice. In the first book, we come so close to that Vin Ham mentorship sparring scene, and it got ripped away at the last minute because of freaking Yedden.
Yeah, thanks, Yedden. I was about to say.
So this was good to see.
Yeah, that was good. So we got that. We don't have any extra information about the metal, the new alloy. But guess who we see? We see a Chad spook.
Is that
someone? I don't know. What do we call him?
The Master of Disguise spook?
Yeah.
Disrespectful spook?
Yes.
Spook. Although he is over 6 feet tall now, so yeah, Chad Spook.
Yeah, he's big. He's a big
what
boy.
What you could have had, Vin.
Yeah, look at this. Look at all this. But yeah, he was cringy at the end there. It's like, oh, I need a woman. Oh, God. Anyway, we'll get there.
Right, but also, apparently, some members of the crew did not get titles. That's not cool.
Yes. Another strike against King Elend again.
Yeah. Yep. Also, I sensed a fair amount of tension this chapter, and I was getting it in the last chapter as well. It's that forced joviality that Vin was observing in Dockson and Elend. They're all feigning at being lighthearted, but it feels like underneath there's a lot of not discontent, but just tension and stress and uncomfortability.
Yes, it's an uneasy piece, whatever it is. And yes, part of that tension is there is a looming battle, basically. There's a looming army. But I feel like the way that things are going, as in the way that we've got a non-Scar king, that whole thing, it is taking its toll, and there's undertones that I'm very interested in.
The phrase "no one gets under your skin like family" kind of comes to mind. It feels like all of these characters are building subtle grievances with each other, but none of them are saying it, or if they do, they're not being heard, and it's going to come to a head at some point, I feel.
Yeah. Confrontation delayed is confrontation expanded. I was trying to, I've forgotten how Jordan Peterson phrases that. But yeah, it is. It's like, okay, there is a lack of things being said. And maybe I don't know when this explosion will occur. But luckily, there will be some violence that occurs soon. So nothing will make them band together more than having a common enemy, which is on their doorstep. So let's see how that goes.
Yes. It's tough because I feel like for me, it's hard to pinpoint. It's just like a feeling that it's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then you have Elend, who actually says something to the contrary. Like, he's enjoying the way that they are. So
true.
We'll see how that feels with having front-loaded that thing. Let's see how we reinterpret what he says.
Let's get into it then, shall we? Hello and welcome to the No One Asked You podcast. For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host, that darn kitty.
Dorkus and I are both going into the story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way.
Hold on to your butts, because this is Ascension Unleashed, a blind read through. And today we will be covering Chapter 6. Chapter 6. I was waiting for it.
I wanted to see what you would do if.
with silence. I'm waiting for that chapter. It's like, listen, we have a routine here. Don't break it. But you know what? I deserve that.
Chapter 6.
Yeah.
I write this record now, pounding it into a metal slab, because I am afraid. Afraid for myself, yes. I admit to being human. If Alendi does return from the Well of Ascension, I am certain that my death will be one of his first objectives. He is not an evil man, but he is a ruthless one. That is, I think, a product of what he has been through.
Wow. I didn't. But you know what? Clickety clack. You go first.
There's a lot that I get out of this. It feels very intense, pounding into metal slabs. First off, this guy is very verbose for someone who is, I don't know what, chiseling into metal or something.
Yeah, it's like I pound this. So he's like busy telling us how he's pounding it. Like we know you're pounding this into metal if we're reading it off of metal. But thanks for all of that. Yes, it does also have a neat parallel reminder or whatever of Alendi's own writings. I write this with, like his fingers are shivering or whatever, frozen or sore, whatever, things like that. On the precipice of what's going to happen. There's just this, having the knowledge of what Alendi goes through. Yeah, I can't wait for our diagram is all I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. Which by now should already be out. Go check it out.
Go check it out, yeah.
And certainly Quan has been referred to as a father figure by Alendi. And I think I had commented in a previous Ascension Unleashed episode that I really love that idea that maybe Alendi picked up this journal writing from Quan. But I also I absolutely loved he is not an evil man, but he is a ruthless one. Those characteristics were what was heavily at play in the first book, in the epigraphs, in trying to set up the Rashek mystery of it all.
Yes.
And
yeah.
That was really communicated effectively in that first book, I think.
Yeah, it was. Like we had ourselves, it was believable for quite a while that, that something happened to this man at the Well of Ascension, and he's writing it. That this is the Lord Ruler we're hearing. Because there were these traces of ruthlessness and arrogance and things like that that made us, but those were little breadcrumbs that we were like, okay, so this could be the traces of something of what this man became. We were wrong, delightfully, but yeah, you can see that happening here as well. That we're also learning we're learning more about Alendi as well. So, I'm excited for more.
Me too.
I'm good with the epigraphs. Is this all of Cosmere? Does all of Cosmere have this? That's cool.
I don't know. But I also, that is, I think, a product of what he has been through. I mean, my understanding between everything we have read thus far is essentially that he was told that he was the hero of ages, that he's the one who was going to stop the deepness, the end of the world.
Yeah, he's the hero of ages. Yeah.
That responsibility lies with him. So, of course, you're going to do the things you have to do for the sake of saving the world.
Yes, you're the hero. Hello. So you're going through it, and you're making decisions, and yes, definitely, that's going to have an impact. And then being told that you're not the hero, also has further impact. So that's
But even there, we remember he wrote, even if I'm not, surely it's better that I try.
Yes, it's better than no one. Like this needs to happen. So I'm gonna try. And that was goodness. I think that was based in goodness. It's just like somebody's got to try. I'm here.
Laudable, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Anyway, I liked this epigraph quite a lot.
We're enjoying Kwan's never mind. We're enjoying Kwan's writing. Jesus.
Elend leaned down against the railing, looking in at the sparring yard. Part of him did wish to go out and practice with Vin and Ham. The larger part of him didn't see the point. Any assassin likely to come after me will be an Allomancer. I could train 10 years and be no match for one of them. Okay, that line, stupid Elend. No. It's gonna be more surprising when it's a normie that puts a knife in your back, for one thing. But two, I had a very disturbing thought. Who's to say any one of the crew couldn't be a Kandra? And
deep cover.
Deep cover. I don't think a Kandra could be considered an Allomancer or a Mistborn, and it's very Kandra are assassins. Straff has a Kandra, so
they're spies, but they're good assassins, I would say, as well.
I would imagine. So no, Elend. Stupid.
Stupid Elend.
Learn to defend yourself.
Just give yourself a fighting chance. Nah, you know what? I'm busy, right? I can't.
Just make sure the line of succession is clear. If you die, dox him.
Yes.
In the yard, Ham took a few swings with his staff, then nodded. Vin stepped up holding her own staff, which was a good foot taller than she was. Watching the two of them, Elend couldn't help remarking on the disparity. Ham had the firm muscles and powerful build of a warrior. Vin looked even thinner than usual, wearing only a tight buttoned shirt and a pair of trousers, with no cloak to mask her size. The inequality was enhanced by Ham's next words. We're practicing with the staff, but not practicing pushing or pulling. Don't use anything but pewter, all right? Vin nodded. It was the way they often sparred. Ham claimed that there was no substitute for training and practice, no matter how powerful an Allomancer one was. He did let Vin use pewter because he said the enhanced strength and dexterity was disorienting unless one was accustomed to it.
I like that. It's smart. We've already established like what our preference is with having Mistings train Vin. It's like we want them to give her their specialized knowledge because it ultimately makes her a better Allomancer all around. We want her to be able to be an expert in each of the powers. So yeah, I'm here for it.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
The sparring field was like a courtyard. Situated in the palace barracks, it had an open-sided hallway built around it. Elend stood in this, the roof overhead keeping the red sun out of his eyes. That was nice, for a light ashfall had begun, and occasional flakes floated down from the sky. Elend crossed his arms on the railing. Soldiers passed occasionally in the hallway behind, bustling with activity. Some lingered to watch. Vin and Ham's sparring sessions were something of a welcome diversion to the palace guards. I should be working on my proposal, not standing here watching Vin fight. Oh my god, Elend, enough with the proposal.
He's trying to be a good king. Blah, blah. Like...
Yeah, no, that was too far. It's important.
But he needs to give himself a break. Yeah,
he really
I think he
does.
Needs, like, because when you look at something for too long, like it's not going to get better. He does need to. His brain is doing stuff with the proposal, even as he's watching. So just remember that, people. Let your brain rest a couple times.
Yes, but the tension of the last few days had been so pressing that he was finding it difficult to get up the motivation to do yet another read-through of the speech. What he really needed was to spend a few moments thinking. So he simply watched. Vin approached Ham warily, staff held in a firm, two-handed stance. Once Elend would probably have found trousers and shirt on the lady to be inappropriate, but he'd been around Vin too long to still be bothered by that. Ball gowns and dresses were beautiful, but there was something right about Vin in simple garb. She wore it more comfortably. Besides, he kind of liked how the tight clothing looked on her.
Just, being a guy.
Yeah.
And she
Hey.
looks good. Hey.
Yeah. Tomboys, way to go. Ellen,
Yeah.
you and I were on the same page there.
Yeah.
100%.
There's something right about just chilled garb, okay?
Yeah. It sends a relaxed message. Hello, I'm cool. You know?
Yeah. I didn't try this hard. It actually just happened.
Vin usually let others strike first, and this day was no exception. Staves rapped as Ham engaged her, and despite her size, Vin held her own. After a quick exchange, they both backed away, circling warily. My money's on the girl. Elend turned as he noticed a form limping down the hallway toward him. Clubs stepped up beside Elend, setting a 10 boxing coin down on the railing with a snap. Elend smiled to the general, and Clubs scowled back, which was generally accepted as Clubs' version of a smile. Dachshund excluded, Elend had warmed quickly to the other members of Vin's crew, but Clubs had taken a little getting used to. The stocky man had a face like a gnarled toadstool, and he always seemed to be squinting in displeasure, an expression usually matched by his tone of voice.
Oh, good old Clubs. Oh, we enjoy it. You know what?
Yeah.
And that's him smiling. Okay, yeah. I'm glad that you've noticed that he has resting gnarled face. So he he has a problem looking jovial, but I'm happy that he understands. Ellen understands. Like, nah, he's still no, he's warmed up to all of the crew except Dachshund. That's interesting.
You were so spot on with your Jonathan Banks casting.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get that image out of my mind now whenever I think of Clubs.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as we were going through it.
He was a gifted craftsman, not to mention an allomancer, a smoker, though he didn't get to use his power much anymore. For the better part of a year, Clubs had acted as general of Ellen's military forces. Ellen didn't know where Clubs had learned to lead soldiers, but the man had a remarkable knack for it. He'd probably gotten the skill in the same place he'd acquired the scar on his leg that produced the hobble from which Clubs drew his nickname. There's still that bit of mystery there about Clubs then, which was fine.
Indeed.
There was the epic reveal at the end. Will we ever know? I don't know.
There was that cinematic reveal, like, how do you think I got this limp? Woo! Or got this, like, scar. Yeah.
And we're going to just play into that. I love it. They're only sparring clubs. There won't be a winner. They'll end with a serious exchange. They always do. Ellen considered. You're asking me to bet against Vin, you know. That could be unhealthy. So? Ellen smiled, pulling out a coin. Clubs still kind of intimidated him, and he didn't want to risk offending the man. Where's that worthless nephew of mine? Spook? He's back? How'd he get into the city? He left something on my doorstep this morning. A gift? It was a wood carving from a master carpenter up in Yelva City. The note said, I just wanted to show you what real carpenters are up to, old man. Elend chuckled but trailed off as Clubs eyed him with a discomforting stare. Whelp was never this insolent before. I swear, you lot have corrupted the lad. So
how did we, I say we, how did the crew corrupt the lad? By giving him, does he mean nobleman? What do you think? I mean, it's not like a really serious allegation, but I do wonder. Like,
I think it's just the casual way of being that Kelsier's crew has.
Yeah, you lot usually. I think that's the crew way more than noblemen. Yeah.
But we also get a lot of juvenile Spook this chapter.
Yes, we do. We realize the difference between Elend and Spook a lot.
Yeah, he's very much a 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the age difference is very palpable here.
Yeah. Whelp was never this insolent before. I swear, you lot have corrupted the lad. Clubs almost seemed to be smiling. Or was he serious? Elend could never decide if the man was as crusty as he seemed or if Elend was the butt of some elaborate joke. How is the army doing? Terribly. You want an army? Give me more than 1 year to train it. Right now, I'd barely trust those boys against a mob of old women with sticks. Great, Ellen thought. It's also noteworthy. This is the most we've heard clubs speak since those very earliest chapters of
True.
Mistborn.
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is the most we're getting at. This is a long, elaborate speech from Clubs, and in continuing in the rest of the chapter, maybe Spook's cheekiness has led to him having to speak more. So I'm very happy. I want to hear more from Clubs.
Same. Can't do much right now, though. Straff is digging in some cursory fortifications, but mostly he's resting his men. The attack will come by the end of the week. In the courtyard, Vin and Ham continued to fight. It was slow for the moment, Ham taking time to pause and explain principles or stances. Elend and Clubs watched for a short time as the sparring gradually became more intense, the rounds taking longer, the two participants beginning to sweat as their feet kicked up puffs of ash from the packed, sooty earth. Vin gave Ham a good contest despite the ridiculous differences in strength, reach, and training, and Ellen smiled despite himself. She was something special. Elend had realized that when he'd first seen her in the Venture Ballroom a year and a half before. He was only now coming to realize how much of an understatement special was. I should say so.
Yeah, he thought she was just not like other girls, cool. No, she's very, very cool. She got a lot going for her.
Yeah. A coin snapped against the wooden railing. My money's on Vin too. Elend turned with surprise. The man who had spoken was a soldier who had been standing with the others, watching behind. Elend frowned. Who? Then Elend cut himself off. The beard was wrong, the posture too straight, but the man standing behind him was familiar. Spook? The teenage boy smiled behind an apparently fake beard. Wasn't aware of calling out? Ellen's head immediately began to hurt. Lord Ruler, don't tell me you've gone back to the dialect. Lord Ruler, Ellen, come
Yes,
on.
Ellen. My gosh, he's doing it too. I forgot to mention it. Like what's in the previous chapter, Vin does it, I think, several times. Everyone's
Kelsier's
still
rolling in his grave.
Yeah, everyone's still in their old habits,
Yeah.
including the actual king. Come on, man,
Right?
be a better example.
If anyone should not be heard saying that, it should be Ellen.
Yes, exactly.
Lord Ruler, don't tell me you've gone back to the dialect. Or just for the occasional nostalgic quip. His words bore traces of his Easterner accent. During the first few months Elend had known the boy, Spook had been utterly unintelligible. Fortunately, he had grown out of using his street cant, as he'd managed to grow out of most of his clothing. Well over 6 feet tall, the 16-year-old young man hardly resembled the gangly boy Elend had met a year before.
Growth spurt.
Yeah. Spook, you expect me to believe that over 6 feet tall and you can't get a girlfriend? Come on.
Well, it just is because he's just being angsty and teensy, I suppose. And also, he's probably going out of his league in terms of like he wants a woman, and there's other 16-year-olds that are like, "Oh my god, he's so hot," and he's like, "No, he wants woman," because he says, "I need a woman." Well, we'll get there.
Spook leaned against the railing beside Elend, adopting a teenage boy's lounging posture and completely destroying his image as a soldier, which indeed he wasn't. So this is between the message he sent to clubs and this adopting a teenage boy's lounging posture, we are getting some immaturity that I don't think was entirely present in Mistborn.
Yeah, we had a different kind of immaturity. We had the shyness, so it was kind of like just a him. He was too shy for us to even notice any kind of other weirdness, other adolescentness. So yeah, now we
Yeah.
get Now we get like big, overgrown adolescent person.
Overcompensating.
Yeah, over like trying to figure out who they are and whatever. And yeah, that is, it's a good thing for us to go through, because we were like, yay, spook and whatever. And then now you look at it and you're like, yeah, Vin's a bit too complicated for spook. Spook is just, he's going through his 16-year-old era. It's
I do very much like that he has a talent for disguises, though.
Yes. I mean, look, it's not exactly perfect, because like the beard was wrong and everything, and people recognized him, but he did go undetected for quite a while.
He revealed himself.
Yeah, he revealed himself. Yeah, basically. And also, Ellen did see him as a man. The man this, the man that. And now he's the boy this, the boy that. So it's like, he was well and truly fooled. And so was his uncle. Yeah.
It's a talent that I suspect will be very, very useful. And from what I understand of his divisive role in the fandom, to be, I suspect, very divisive within the context of the story.
Yeah. And so we've got those 2 points, right? We're establishing he's master of disguise, spook, but also he's not a soldier. Like, Brandon Sanderson made sure that we have Ellen remarking that he's not a soldier, so that will come back. I'm expecting.
Why the costume, Spook? I'm no Mistborn. We more mundane spies have to find ways to get information without flying up to windows and listening outside. How long have you been standing there? Clubs asked, glaring at his nephew. Since before you got here, Uncle Grumbles. And in answer to your question, I got back a couple days ago. Before Dachshund, in fact. I just thought I'd take a bit of a break before I went back to duty. I don't know if you've noticed, Spook, but we're at war. There isn't a lot of time to take breaks. Spook shrugged. I didn't want you to send me away again. If there's going to be war here, I want to be around. You know, for the excitement.
Oh, geez, so much of adolescence. She's like, oh, I don't want you to send me away. Like, it's so self-centered as well. She's like, like, he's got responsibilities and stuff. He needs to be utilized, but he's thinking about, no, he wants to do exciting stuff. And there we have Ellen, like, hey, we're at war, so Ellen is considering responsibilities and being all grown up, and then there's Spook. It's just like,
well,
yeah,
but
war.
But it's very much what is underneath these sentences for me. He's playing it off as petulant and amateurish, but I didn't want you to send me away again. If there's going to be war here, I want to be around. Those are, I think, very serious sentences. His friends' lives are in danger, and he doesn't want to be away for that. And he's hiding behind that petulant facade. But I think he's very serious about not wanting to have been sent away again for very real reasons.
Yeah, legitimately frustrated, because it's like, no, really, that's not the best use of it. Oh, I don't want to be away from the action, because this is where the people I care about are. Like, I agree. That's actually, like, he's playing it off. So I'm busy. The way that he's playing it off actually is even more towards the adolescent, because he's not going to actually say, I want to be here because, God damn it, there's a war. Instead, he is playing it off like an adolescent would. So we've got the immaturity, but also the underlying. So I'm with you on that.
But add on top of that, he is a 16-year-old, and what he says and does is going to come off as that of a 16-year-old. But do you think that there's any element of the Spook that we get in this chapter as trying to emulate Kelsier at all, who was very flippant?
Yes.
And yeah,
definitely the flippant and carefree, and yes, definitely. And who wouldn't want to emulate the previous leader? And
just it's something that is in my mind, because I mean, I suppose you could say Kelsier was a very admirable person, or at least rephrase, he was a very charismatic
Mm-hmm.
person.
Yes.
And yeah, and from the spook that we get in this chapter, I think there is a desire to be liked and to be noticed. He's the guy that notices everything,
Mm-hmm.
but no one seems to notice him,
Yeah.
particularly women, and that's a big thing. But also, everyone's relationship in this book so far is within the context of Kelsier's not here anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there could be that bit of spook trying to emulate him in some way.
Yeah, I agree. You've applied that. It's like everybody is dealing with the lack of calcium in a certain way. One of the things that he is doing is trying to be the guy. So, well, somewhat like him.
Yeah. I didn't want you to send me away again. If there's going to be war here, I want to be around. You know, for the excitement. And where did you get that uniform? Well. Spook glanced to the side, displaying a hint of the uncertain boy Ellen had known. Clubs grumbled something about insolent boys, but Ellen laughed and clapped Spook on the shoulder. The boy looked up, smiling. Though he'd been easy to ignore at first, he was proving as valuable as any of the other members of Vin's former crew. As a tin eye, a misting who could burn tin to enhance his senses, Spook could listen to conversations from far away, not to mention notice distant details. Anyway, welcome back. What's the word from the West? I hate to sound too much like Uncle Krusty over here, but the news isn't good. You know those rumors about the Lord Ruler's Atium being in Luthadel? Well, they're back. Stronger this time. I thought we were past that, Ellen said. Breeze and his team had spent the better part of 6 months spreading rumors and manipulating the warlords into believing that the Atium must have been hidden in another city since Ellen hadn't found it in Luthadel. So we've got an idea of what Breeze is doing. Good, grateful
Mm-hmm.
for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not bad. And surely spreading rumors that are, in fact, closer to
True.
true, yeah,
Yeah.
would be easier than false rumors.
Yeah. But that means, so that does mean we've got some other rumor mill running, a
Yeah.
counter rumor mill.
It's spying, it's
Espionage.
interference, espionage, it's
Mhm.
interfering in other countries'
Territories is.
yeah. Oh, but back to the Spook Kelsier thing for a moment. Even in this chapter, he's like, I want a title. And Kelsier had a title, The Survivor of Hathson. So
Mm-hmm.
there might be more to this he wants to emulate Kelsier thing than I had even initially thought. Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. An interesting thing of just that there is the uncertain boy there underneath. You could still see
Mm,
him. So he is trying to emulate, but he's got to play this character for it to happen because he's just not very Calcia like. I don't know how that's going to work out. If he is, I guess if he's got what Calcia's got, I suppose. But yeah, how he's trying to figure out who he really is as well at the same time.
yeah. I think that might be his arc, is him trying to
Mm,
be something that he's not.
yeah, and then figuring out what he is.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome back. What's the word from the
Also,
West? Yeah, also?
also just honorable mention because it's going to happen again for the all the titles he gives Uncle Krusty over here. Like I enjoy that. That's funny. The things that he gives clubs, like all the different names all the way through. I like it.
Agreed. What's the word from the West? I hate to sound too much like Uncle Krusty over here, but the news isn't good. You know those rumors about the Lord Ruler's Atium being in Luthadel? Well, they're back. Stronger this time. I thought we were past that. Guess not. And I think someone's been spreading these rumors intentionally. I've been on the street long enough to sense a planted story, and this rumor smells wrong. Someone really wants the warlords to focus on you. Great, Helen thought. You don't know where Breeze is, do you? Spook shrugged, but he no longer seemed to be paying attention to Elend. He was watching the sparring. Elend glanced back towards Vin and Ham. As Clubs had predicted, the two had fallen into a more serious contest. There was no more instruction. There were no more quick, repetitive exchanges. They sparred in earnest, fighting in a swirling melee of staffs and dust. Ash flew around them, blown up by the wind of their attacks, and even more soldiers stopped in the surrounding hallway to watch. Elend leaned forward. There was something intense about a duel between two Allomancers. Vin tried an attack. Ham swung simultaneously, his staff blurringly quick. Vin got her own weapon up in time, but the power of Ham's blow threw her back in a tumble. She hit the ground on one shoulder, giving barely a grunt of pain. She got a hand beneath it, throwing herself up to land on her feet. She skidded for a moment, retaining her balance, holding her staff up. Woo!
Action!
Things getting serious now. Pewter, Elend thought. It made even a clumsy man dexterous, and for a person who was normally graceful like Vin. That's a very specific supposition there, Elend. And it seems to run counter to something Ham will say later.
Okay. I did not pick that up.
You didn't.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, let's asterisk this. It made even a clumsy man dexterous, and for a person who was normally graceful like Vin, ... The supposition there, the end of the ellipses there being, it made her even more graceful and dexterous. So remember that. Asterisk. Vin's eyes narrowed, her innate stubbornness showing in the set of her jaw. She didn't like being beaten, even when her opponent was obviously stronger than she was. Elend stood up straight, intending to suggest an end to the sparring. At that moment, Vin dashed forward. Ham brought his staff up expectantly, swinging as Vin came within reach. She ducked to the side, passing within inches of the attack, then brought her weapon around and slammed it into the back of Ham's staff, throwing him off balance. Then she ducked in for the attack. Ham recovered quickly. He let the force of Vin's blow spin him, and he used the momentum to bring his staff around in a powerful blow aimed directly at Vin's chest. Elend cried out. Vin jumped. Almost sounds like a Star Wars prequels fight with all the spinning.
All the spinnies, yeah.
Yeah. Elend cried out. Vin jumped. She didn't have metal to push against, but that didn't seem to matter. She sprang a good 7 feet in the air, easily cresting Ham's staff. She flipped as the swing passed beneath her, her fingers brushing the air right above the weapon, her own staff spinning in a one-handed grip. What did you think of Vin being... Matrix!
I was like, wow! Yeah.
What did you make of Vin being able to jump 7 feet in the air?
I was impressed, and I was like, yes, let's go. I'm happy with that. Did you think it was OP or something?
I didn't necessarily think it was OP. I was a bit surprised because this is just from pewter, right? She's not pushing or pulling against metal, and I don't think we
haven't had her do this kind of thing. We have had her do the steel pushing and that whole thing, the jumping, the allomancy that way. That makes her fly, basically. So it's not that exciting for us to hear that she has this ability. But now with the limitation of pewter only, we can see what she can do, and it's Is
this
explained.
Something that Ham can do?
No, you'll see. He explains it.
Right.
It isn't something Ham can do. It's more an illustration of how special she is.
It's impressive to be certain. Vin landed, her staff already howling in a low swing, its tip flinging up a line of ash as it ran along the ground. It slammed into the back of Ham's legs. The blow swept Ham's feet out from beneath him, and he cried out as he fell. Vin jumped into the air again. Ham slammed to the earth on his back, and Vin landed on his chest. Then she calmly rapped him on the forehead with the end of her staff.
I win.
Ham lay looking dazed, Vin crouching on his chest. Dust and ash settled quietly in the courtyard. Damn, Spook whispered, voicing a sentiment that seemed to be shared by the dozen or so watching soldiers. Finally, Ham chuckled. Fine, you beat me. Now if you would kindly get me something to drink while I try to massage some feeling back into my legs. Bioshock. Nah. Vin smiled, hopping off his chest and scampering away to do as requested. Ham shook his head, climbing to his feet. Despite his words, he walked with barely a limp. He'd probably have a bruise, but it wouldn't bother him for long. Pewter not only enhanced one's strength, balance, and speed, it also made one's body innately stronger. Ham could shrug off a blow that would have shattered Ellen's legs. Ham joined them, nodding to clubs and punching Spook lightly on the arm. Then he leaned against the railing and rubbed his left calf, cringing slightly. I swear, Elland, sometimes sparring with that girl is like trying to fight with a gust of wind. She's never where I think she'll be. How did she do that, Ham? The jump, I mean. That leap seemed inhuman, even for an Allomancer. Used steel, didn't she? Spook said. No, I doubt it. Then how? Allomancers don't have to be physically strong to be incredibly powerful. If Vin were a ferochemist, it would be different. If you ever see Sazed increase his strength, his muscles will grow larger. But with allomancy, the power comes from the metal itself, not the person's body.
We have another major change. What major? What's structural? Okay, so you've got. I've got Allomancers draw strength from their metals, Ham said, sighing and putting his foot down. Some can squeeze out more than others, but the real power comes from the metal itself, not the person's body. So you've got a lot more there than me.
Interesting. Yeah, that is a big change.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so he's saying the real power comes from the metal itself, not the person's body. So it doesn't really matter how strong your body is. You can still be a strong Allomancer and therefore do more. And she's that squeezing more out of it. That's basically what Vin does. She's got a higher rate.
Right. It's also slight non sequitur. Elland now knows about ferochemy. Ham knows about ferochemy. So, of course, he's the king. If anyone should know about it, it should be him. But I don't know if, like, the keepers wanted to keep that a secret for the time being or not.
Yeah,
but that could indicate a significant change in the ferochemy paradigm.
Yeah, the world.
But,
you can just run around and do your ferochemy. Hello, they can breed now and do things that they like. So I would be quite surprised if the keepers look. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if the keepers were trying to keep secrets still, because it's just a habit. But at the same time,
it would grant them some degree of influence and power. We know things. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, and we are also literally something that can be used in battle. We're as mystical as Allomancers. Hello.
Yeah. So. Now, but back to the Vin Allomancy ferochemy stuff. This line that Ham is about to say speaks directly to that line we asterisked earlier, where Elland thought about being graceful for someone who was already graceful. ... But here Ham says, now most thugs, myself included, figure that making their bodies stronger will only add to their power. After all, a muscular man burning pewter will be that much stronger than a regular man of the same allomantic power. Ham rubbed his chin, eyeing the direction Vin had gone. But, well, I'm beginning to think that there might be another way. Vin's a thin little thing, but when she burns pewter, she grows several times stronger than any normal warrior. She packs all that strength into a small body and doesn't have to bother with the weight of massive muscles. She's like an insect, far stronger than her mass or her body would indicate. So when she jumps, she can jump. That's very different than Ellen's observation, yeah?
I'm still struggling to, like, I can see it's vaguely. Yeah, I'm being slow. Help me out.
Okay, so say I can lift 100 pounds, and thanks to pewter, I could lift 1,000 pounds. All right? Conventional thinking is that if I could instead lift 150 pounds, I would then be able to lift, thanks to pewter, 1,100 pounds, or
I think it's
more.
1,050. Yeah, more than 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was certainly Ellen's observation of Vin. She is already a dexterous person, so she is made even more dexterous than a non-dexterous person would otherwise be burning the same metal.
Mhm.
That is the logic Ellen has applied. But Ham
Yeah.
here is saying Vin doesn't follow those rules.
Mhm.
It wouldn't matter if she could lift 100 pounds or 150 pounds. Either way, when she burns pewter, she can lift 2,000 pounds or
Yeah.
3,000.
It doesn't make sense that the ratio of her her base strength and versus her pewter strength is different. It's high. Yeah, I know what you're saying. But when it comes to there is a qualitative difference between strength and dexterity.
Dexter. Okay.
Yeah, because dexterity, I suppose it's the ability to use what is available to you. So it's more to do with her mental prowess, right? So having that, like having pewter, makes her dexterity just shine more. So that's what it seems like. Like she's able to use her grace and dexterity even greater effect with pewter. So I feel like that still applies, even though because it's her mind being enhanced, or her functioning being enhanced. She has more available to her, so it uses her base intelligence, her base dexterity. I think the ratio is just the difference. So maybe her ratio. I don't see how it can apply. Both of these things can apply. She's special at exponentially making her dexterity better and exponentially making her strength better. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Hmm.
And at this point, my brain is fried on the topic.
Okay.
But yes. So I'm going to sit with that one. Folks in the chat and comment section, let us know what you think about this topic. Please.
Then special. The end.
Vin special. She's like an insect, far stronger than her mass or her body would indicate. So when she jumps, she can jump. But you're still stronger than she is. And I can make use of that, assuming I can ever hit her. That's getting harder and harder to do. Vin finally returned, carrying a jug of chilled juice. Apparently, she'd decided to go all the way to the keep rather than grabbing some of the warm ale kept on hand in the courtyard. She handed a flagon to Ham and had thought to bring cups for Elend and clubs. Hey, what about me?
That beard looks silly on you.
So I don't get anything to drink?
No.
Vin, you're a strange girl. So, Vin's being uniquely short with Spook.
Mm-hmm.
Methinks something might have happened between the two of them.
Okay. I'm just thinking that she's just being Vin to him. She's being playful. Well, not playful. Like she's just. But yeah, I'm here for it if that's what happened. Picking up on the tea, Dorkus. So what could have happened? Maybe you tried something.
I don't. Yeah. Well, we'll find out eventually, I'm sure.
It's possible. It's been long enough. I think so. It's actually probable.
I mean, I don't think I've seen her being this short with anyone else recently. So,
true.
Except not. Yeah, I don't know. She was even starting to like that strange little Spook.
Well, he's not little anymore.
No, he's a very tall boy.
He grew up.
Vin rolled her eyes, then glanced toward the water barrel in the corner of the courtyard. One of the tin cups lying beside it lurched into the air, shooting across the courtyard. Vin stuck her hand out, catching it with a slapping sound, then set it on the railing before Spook.
Happy?
I will be once you pour me something to drink, Spook said as Clubs grunted, taking a slurp from his own cup. The old general then reached over, sliding 2 of the coins off the railing and pocketing them. Hey, that's right. You owe me, El. Pay up. Elend lowered his cup. I never agreed to that bet. You paid Uncle Irritable. Why not me? Elend sighed, pulling out a 10 boxing coin and setting it beside Spook's. The boy smiled, plucking both up in a smooth street thief gesture. Thanks for winning the bout, Vin, he said with a wink. Vin frowned at Elend.
You bet against me?
Oh no, Elend's in trouble. Elend laughed, leaning across the railing to kiss her. I didn't mean it, Clubs bullied me. Clubs snorted at that comment, downed the rest of his juice, then held out his cup for a refill. When Vin didn't respond, he turned to Spook and gave the boy a telling scowl. Finally, Spook sighed, picking up the jug. Vin was still regarding Elend with dissatisfaction. I'd be careful, Elend. She can hit pretty hard. I should know better than to antagonize her when there are weapons lying around, eh? Tell me about it. Vin sniffed at that comment, rounding the railing so she could stand next to Elend. He put his arm around her, and as he did, he caught a bare flash of envy in Spook's eyes. Elend suspected that the boy had had a crush on Vin for some time, but, well, Elend couldn't really blame him for that. So,
There we
look,
got
he's
this blinded me.
Yeah. So, he's trying to hide it at least.
Mm-hmm. But there was a flash. Yeah.
Look, Spook is lonely. He'll find someone else and it'll be fine. He's young. Spook shook his head. I've got to find myself a woman.
You see, with me, I was like, okay, relax here. Okay, I've got to find myself a woman. I was like, yes, you're such a big boy, aren't you? You're such a big man that you need a woman. You're a boy. Relax. But, obviously that's, it's part of his bravado. It's part of his thing. It's like, I've got to find myself a woman. Yeah, no. So, I don't know. I just, I found it cringy. I was like, oh, relax. You're still 16.
It's not coming off well, in my opinion, but
yeah,
I have some empathy for the situation. I know what it's like to be a 16-year-old boy and not a particularly attractive or charismatic one.
Yeah, I have empathy for that, definitely. But it's just funny the way he words it. I'm just
fair. I've got to find myself a woman.
Well, that beard isn't going to help.
It's just a disguise, Vin. I don't suppose you could give me a title or something. I don't think that'll matter, Spook. It worked for you. Oh, I don't know. I think Vin fell in love with me despite my title rather than because of it. But you had others before her. Noble girls. A couple. Though Vin has a habit of killing off her competition. Now, see, she only did that once. And I think Shan deserved it. She was, after all, trying to assassinate me at the time. He looked down fondly, eyeing Vin. Though I do have to admit, Vin is a bit hard on other women. With her around, everybody else looks bland by comparison.
Ooh, score those points back, boy. Yeah, that's it. I'm good. Let's go.
Spook rolled his eyes. It's more interesting when she kills them all. Ham chuckled, letting Spook pour him some more juice. Lord Ruler only knows what she'd do to you if you ever tried to leave her, Elend. And I didn't have to read that next sentence to know that was not the thing to say.
Yeah, jeez, let's not go there.
Vin stiffened immediately, pulling him a little tighter. She'd been abandoned far too many times. Even after what they'd been through, even after his proposal of marriage, Elend had to keep promising Vin that he wasn't going to leave her. I really liked that bit because it's really cementing this early in the book for people who haven't picked up the first book for some reason that Vin is very, very neurotic about being left.
Yes. She's seen some things and lost many things to make her feel that way. So we get an insight into her.
Yeah, and I think it's well written. The lines, the way it flows, I think it's good.
I must say, I am feeling the put on joviality. Like I am feeling
the tension.
That. Yeah,
with the tension
it's
underneath.
It's fun, but it's different to when we were really enjoying in the first few chapters of when we first met the crew. The way that they all start bantering and stuff. It really does feel different to that because the banter of the previous, in a different situation, we were like, oh my god, I'm just loving this because we love the way that it's written because we were just enjoying the characters. Here it's like, yes, they are doing their character things, but there is this feeling of uneasiness. Like they're all just trying to make the best of it. So
yeah. Time to change the topic, Elend thought, the joviality of the moment fading. Well, I think I'm gonna go visit the kitchens and get something to eat. You coming, Vin? Vin glanced at the sky, likely checking to see how soon it would grow dark. Finally, she nodded. I'll come. No, you won't, Clubs said, grabbing the boy by the back of the neck. You're going to stay right here and explain exactly where you got one of my soldiers' uniforms. Ellen chuckled, leading Vin away. Truth be told, even with the slightly sour end of the conversation, he felt better for having come to watch the sparring. It was strange how the members of Kelsier's crew could laugh and make light even during the most terrible of situations. They had a way of making him forget about his problems. Perhaps that was a holdover from the survivor. Kelsier had reportedly insisted on laughing no matter how bad the situation. It had been a form of rebellion to him. None of that made the problems go away. They still faced an army several times larger than their own, in a city they could barely defend. Yet if anyone could survive such a situation, it would be Kelsier's crew.
I like that. I like that that Elend is he's aware of the things that made the crew successful. It's not just Kelsier, but he knows it's from Kelsier. He knows Kelsier fostered this environment. So, but he knows the strengths. He knows why that crew is the way it is. He's not just this guy that just doesn't know anything about Kelsier.
Yes,
it is part of it. Yes, that he's kind of obviously he's like, I'll never be Kelsier, and he's worried about that. So he will always have this perspective of comparison. But I appreciate that he even bothers with that comparison. It's good, in my opinion.
I agree. Later that night, having filled her stomach at Ellen's insistence, Vin made her way with Ellen to her rooms. There, sitting on the floor, was a perfect replica of the wolfhound she had bought earlier. It eyed her, then bowed its head. Welcome back, mistress, the Kandra said in a growling, muffled voice. Talking dog!
I know, I was surprised. I was like, oh, because if you remember last episode, I was like, he's never going to speak again. And that's a good thing for Vin, because Vin doesn't want to talk to him. But it's like, no, he can talk. I don't know why. It was such an assumption for me that I was just like, no, he's not going to talk. But why not? It makes sense that he could just hack it, and yeah, he's able to talk. Talking dog. I'm excited. I'm happy that we have it.
Me too. I love it. Best doggo. This is also more points in the this should be an anime rather than live action camp, because it'll translate better to animation.
Yes.
But I am all about talking doggo so much. Welcome back, mistress, the Kandra said in a growling, muffled voice. Elend whistled appreciatively, and Vin walked in a circle around the creature. Each hair appeared to have been placed perfectly. If it hadn't spoken, one would never have been able to tell it wasn't the original dog. How do you manage the voice? Elend asked curiously. A voice box is a construction of flesh, not bone, Your Majesty. Older Kandra learned to manipulate their bodies, not merely replicate them. I still need to digest a person's corpse to memorize and recreate their exact features, but some things I can improvise.
Did we have to use the word digest? Oh. But you know what? I'm still not as creeped out by him as Vin is.
I agree. Vin nodded.
Is that why making this body took you so much longer than you'd said?
No, mistress. The hair. I'm sorry I didn't warn you. Placing fur like this takes a great deal of precision and effort.
Actually, you did mention it,
Vin said, waving her hand. What do you think of the body, Orasaur? Honestly, Your Majesty? Of course. It is offensive and degrading. Vin raised an eyebrow.
That's forward of you, Renaud. Feeling a little belligerent today, are we?
He glanced at her, and she tried unsuccessfully to read his canine expression.
That's another... It's another benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another benefit. He can just talk to her, but she doesn't know. He doesn't have any tells on his face because he has a canine. So there's no, like, I don't know, maybe he could raise an eyebrow or something like that. I'm imagining he could manipulate the canine to have some sort of human expression, but he's using it as just as a way to antagonize her. It's just be like, well, yeah, you can't tell. I'm not being rude. You can't tell I'm being rude because my face is not saying it. So, and also the fact that I also think this was like a passive dig at her in terms of which earlier on, where he's like, I'm sorry I didn't warn you, which actually, yes, he did. So he knows that he did, I feel. And he's just like, oh, yeah, I didn't warn you. And then she's like, oh, yeah, you did. That's a weird, petty exchange between them.
I agree. There's something there, but I feel like we're missing a piece possibly to explain it. But yeah, it could just be a passive aggressive jab. It's interesting. That you're right. That is a noteworthy exchange. But
and she one more thing. I raised my hand. She thinks of him as Renault. She doesn't call him Orosu in her head. That's weird.
Yeah. Well, she's so adversarial to him, and we'll get a little bit into it in a moment. But you'll wear the body anyway, right? Of course, Your Majesty. I would die before breaking the contract. It is life. It is life. Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. That makes me go, okay, cool. Is it life because it literally is life, or is it because culturally Akandra takes it that seriously?
Yeah. Again, I don't think it's merely words on a paper with a signature. I think you would use the word something ritualistic involved.
Yeah.
Elend nodded to Vin as if he had made a major point.
Anyone can claim loyalty. If someone has a contract to ensure their honor, then all the better. That makes the surprise more poignant when they do turn on you.
Again, this chapter is so fantastically highlighting Vin's anyone will betray you mentality.
Yeah, we don't have like Reen's voice doing it for us, but it's there. That's her feeling. We just had this nod to her being abandoned scare, like the way she clings on to Elend, and now we have this like, oh well, yeah, cool, fine. There's a contract, but they'll break it anyway,
I don't think Orasur will betray Vin. I fear Vin will be so focused on expecting Orasur to betray her that she won't notice if someone else does betray her.
Ooh, prediction log.
Wonderful. Added to the log. Elend was obviously waiting for something. Vin sighed.
Orasur will be spending more time together in future.
If that is what you wish, mistress.
I'm not sure if it is or not, but it's going to happen anyway. How well can you move about in that body?
Well enough, mistress.
Come on, let's see if you can keep up. We're going on an adventure!
Going on an adventure with the talking doggo. I like it.
I like it, yeah. Well, I'm excited for what's going to happen next.
Me too. Any final thoughts?
We front-loaded a lot, so but you know what? The front-loading was just not. We didn't cover the Orasur stuff.
True.
Contra stuff. It's a pleasant surprise that Doggo is talking for me. I don't know why. I just absolutely assumed he wouldn't. Which so I'm very happy. This is much better. It's reminding me of some other fantasy book that I read. I think it was Sabriel. She has a dog. As well, but it's a really good friend of hers, so the completely different story, but it's making me think of that. And like this video, check out the rest of the No One Asked You podcast. Dorkus
also,
things.
It's true, but also subscribe to That Darn Kitty because she's got a wonderful channel where she does diagram streams and panel shows and gaming streams sometimes. Also, join the Discord in my channel description because some of us hang out there and it's a neat place.
We'll see you there.
Okay, thanks, bye.